Hello, this is Wmpyr. Recently, I saw an interview with Professor Robert Drysdale, and I thought it was fascinating. He basically talked about like the lost history of Gracie Jiu-Jitsu slash Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's an author of a book on that topic, and yeah, it's something that back in the day when I was training in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and this is like on and off for 10 years, and I know that sounds like a lot, but I was also cross training in a bunch of other styles. So, it's nothing major. Plus, the amount of information during some of those years was extremely limited, especially in the early years. So what took me a long time, maybe years to acquire, today's student could acquire that in a few months. Um, but anyway, even back then, something I remember, not just me, but some of my classmates in different dojos and stuff, we were like, there's something weird going on. There's something strange. We being in about as inside circle as you can get without actually being in the Gracie Academy or training directly under Hickson or you know uh, we knew something was weird, something was up. And then more recent times, Alan Goes is one of the fighters that I studied and watched, since his debut. I remember watching him in Extreme Fighting Championship, um, also in Pancrase, UFC, and definitely in Pride. Um, Alan Goes has a YouTube channel, and he said some things about Carlson Gracie, who is his instructor, and he also said some things about Elio Gracie, and it was kind of like, okay, yeah, I think I understand what you're saying there, but there's some things that he didn't say. It wasn't clear, at least to me. It just wasn't clear, but he definitely painted more of a picture than I had before, and I was like, yeah, I had my suspicions, blah 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 blah. Now Professor Drysdale here goes into a much bigger picture. He paints a bigger picture, but he doesn't paint Elio Gracie as the villain. He doesn't paint anyone as the villain. He just tries to list facts, and he's trying to stay objective as much as possible. Um, and I can respect that. I definitely can respect that. But there's a lot of things that he said that just makes sense to me. It makes a whole lot of sense. So one of the things he says about Carlson Gracie is that Carlson Gracie is one of the most successful, is not one of the most, is the most successful fighter in the Gracie family. So Carlson's matches, I've never seen a single match, if I'm not mistaken. I know that Elio Gracie lost to Waldemar Santana, and then of course, Professor Drysdale covers this too. He lost to Waldemar Santana, and it was Carlson who does the revenge match and wins that fight, which redeems the family name or whatever. But I don't know much about Carlson's actual fights, but when I look at his fighters, at least the ones that were super famous over here, um, we're talking about like guys like Murilo Bustamante, Mario Sperry, Walid Ismail, Vitor Belfort, you know, and of course Alan Goes. When we're looking at fighters like that, I can see that these guys were top as far as BJJ goes. Like, let's think about it, okay? Of course, the biggest name, or one of the biggest names, is probably Royce Gracie, right? So you have Royce Gracie, who fought Sakuraba to an amazing battle, right? But then you also have Alan Goes, who's a Carlson Gracie student, fought Sakuraba. If you watch that match, I feel like Sakuraba had a harder time against Alangois than he did against Hoist. Now, Hoist is a bigger name, so it had a different kind of stress level there, I'm sure. But I felt like Sakuraba was a little bit more in his game element. He had a little bit more. It was more what he wanted to do, like more him. You can see that in that match. Whereas when he fights Alangois, it's more like a straight up submission grappling match, you know, and they fight to a draw. Whereas Sakuraba was able to find a way to defeat Hoist. So, I just feel, just looking at that right there, you can see that the Carlson Gracie fighter is maybe a little bit better. And then we also see that in sport jiu-jitsu, Hoist lost. Not only did he lose, he got choked unconscious to Walid. Walid is a Carlson Gracie Brazilian jiu-jitsu guy. And then you look at the top dog in Pride, back when there were monsters like Kevin Raneman, Mark Coleman, Fedor Emelianenko, Mirko Krokop, when they were just loaded with monsters. The top Brazilian jiu-jitsu guy, Brazilian BJJ top team, was Nogueira, Minotauro Nogueira. I think, you trace his lineage back to Carlson because his boys, that's who they are. So if you think of it that way, I feel like, Carlson Gracie definitely did have the better fighters, whether it was sport or MMA. He had the best BJJ guys. So I can definitely see this point. And so if he had the best method and he had the best fighters and whatnot, how exactly did he accomplish that? And it's these 3 steps right here. So number 1, you got to practice your techniques. You got to practice as much as you can. Just repeat the techniques over and over, just reps. Number 2 is you got to spar a ton. And then number 3, now you got to go compete, And so if you do that, will you become strong? Abso-freaking-lutely. You will become strong. And it says to protect yourself, you must become strong. How do you become strong? These 3 steps. So this is my own interpretation of what Professor Drysdale was saying, okay? And this comes from Carlson Gracie. This is what he did. Because before Carlson, he was saying that the way Helio Gracie trained people, majority was number 1 only, practice techniques. To a close-knit group, he did number 2. So only for family and only for those that are allowed to, So it was kind of secretive. And you had to be like, super wealthy, the elite, some kind of political favor or something to be able to get to do number 2 with them. And if you do that, yes, you're going to be way stronger than the people who's just doing only number 1, practicing techniques. That's all they do. So you got people that practice techniques and they spar. Of course, those people are going to be much better, right? Well, according to Professor Drysdale, Carlson broke that mold, and he opened the doors. Number 2, opened the doors for anyone that wants to be, that's willing to do it, wants to be disciplined. Come in, come train with us. You're welcome to spar. Not only that, not only anybody. He opened it to anybody. He went to the beach and he found a bunch of tough-looking athletes and monsters and said, hey, come on in. Come on down. Come train with us. You look like you got potential. You look like a tough guy. Come on, man. You might be really good at this. The very laid-back atmosphere. And invited these monsters. So now in the dojo, you're sparring with a ton more people. And they're like athletes and stuff. They're fit. They're muscular. They're beasts. Well, you could imagine they're going to be much, much better. So the Carlson Gracie students will be much better than the Elio Gracie students, just from that alone, right? But then Carlson went into number 3, which, according to Professor Drysdale, he has his hands a lot in the competitive venue. So whether it was sport BJJ or whether it was MMA, he really had a lot of his hands in it, because it's, he felt that it was important for BJJ, the evolution of BJJ, right? So once you do all 3 steps, you are going to become strong. And this is what Carlson Gracie did. I cannot dispute this. I believe this is true. Whatever martial arts style you do, if you do these 3 things, I feel you're going to become strong and you will be able to protect yourself. Or, you know what, I can't say that. You're going to have a much better chance to protect yourself because you're strong. It's like saying, I don't care if you have an assault rifle to protect yourself, right? Let's say it's a war situation, right? Do you want to be, who do you think would do better with the assault rifle? A 12-year-old boy, or do you think a Navy SEAL? Of course the Navy SEAL, because it's physically stronger, because the mindset, because the experience, because the training. So all those things come into play. So yeah, that's what I'm trying to say, is that you got to create the venue, right? You got to create the venue. It can't just be BJJ. Here's BJJ, the tool. You learn it. Okay, now you're going to be able to protect yourself on the street. No. You need as much of an advantage as possible, but even then, it doesn't guarantee anything. But these advantages, like I said, is going to help you. And one of them is you need to become as strong as you can. And that's right here. I cannot argue against this. But by strong, we're really talking about you become a fit beast. You become a monster. You become a cardio machine. You become strong. You become flexible. You become agile. All of those. You're a monster by the end of this. And all of those things, plus the skill, plus the strategy, plus the experience, you're battle hardened. All of these things are going to help you, because you know what it's like to go under pressure, under resistance, someone that's trying to choke you out, someone that's trying to punch you in the face. You know all this, So are you going to have a much better chance in the street? Abso-freaking-lutely. So I cannot argue. To me, this is fact. These 3 steps are fact, right? They're factual. It's proven, right? Now, this is where I have to say, do I think this is the only way to be able to protect yourself? And I think, no, it's not. This is a very, very, very solid base. And that's why I'm presenting this to you guys. What's the base? To me, it's this. This is the core. You base everything off of this, which I am too. These 3 steps, okay? But do I think this is the only way? Absolutely not. And before I get into that, let me just say something real quick before I forget. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu has become an empire today. I mean, it's super successful. You see it everywhere. You're walking around town, I see a bunch of BJJ schools. And part of that is because MMA is so successful. So you see BJJ and MMA schools everywhere. It's an empire, okay? To me, an empire is not a good thing. I know a lot of people. The only good thing is it's easy to find a school. It's convenient. But an empire is not a good thing. Who rules the empire? The emperor. Who is an emperor? The emperor is a tyrant. We don't need people like that. So all the politics that Professor Drysdale talks about and all this, I know he thinks, or he was like, it's like a double-edged sword. You want BJJ to be as big as possible, but at the same time, it comes with a lot of problems. For me, it's clear cut. So I'm a FMA guy, Filipino martial arts. I'm a Escrima guy, Kia, Kali, Arnis. Do I want Kia to be massively successful like BJJ? Do I want it to be an empire? No, I don't. I want it to stay underground. I don't think it's good to have an empire. I don't like emperors. I don't like tyrants. I don't like cults. I don't like any of that stuff. So the only problem is if you don't have that, how are you going to do number 3? Or even number 2, how are you going to get a lot of people to spar with? So other than that, really, you know, and I'll get into that. But my bottom line is that to me is a bad thing. Okay, so I hope Kia, Kali Escrima Arnis, never gets to the level of BJJ. And those of you that are wanting to do that, trying to take Kia there, um, I hope you I hope you fail. That's a nasty thing to say, right? Yeah, well, you know what? You're doing it because you want fame and fortune. So I hope you fail. Yeah, that's a selfish thing. That's a selfish thing that you want. Ultimately, that's what you want. That's the main thing that you want. Admit it. That's what it is. Oh, because I love it so much, I want to share it with the world. Get out of here, liar. Freaking liar. Get out of here. You're a tyrant. We don't need that. We don't need rulers, overlords, So anyway, sorry, went off. I had to make that clear. Okay, and that's why I do things the way I do. But anyway, that being said, I don't believe that these 3 steps is the only way to become successful, to protect yourself. So then we have to ask ourselves, in order to protect yourself, do you have to really become strong? And my answer is no. And the other thing is I have to say is that these 3 things right here, okay, these 3 steps, the problem is when you start sparring frequently and you start competing, the amount of injury, the risks of injury, and I mean, you're going to get injured, period. There's no 2 ways around it. The amount of injury, it's not worth it. Injury should be the greatest enemy of martial arts, of your martial arts journey, of your martial arts training, of you as a martial artist. Injury is the greatest enemy. So number 2 and number 3, bring injury on. So I don't think it's worth it. And that's why a fighter's career is so short. Me right now, I'm going to be 50 this year. All right. Do I want to do number 2? Do I want to do number 3? No, it's not worth it. It's not worth it for me to risk injury. It's absolutely not. So what that means is I cannot become strong. And if I can't become strong, then according to this, I cannot protect myself. So I have a problem with that. Okay? I still have the right to protect myself. Even if I'm weak, I still have the right to protect myself. Look at animals, I mean, even the smallest animal, like a rat or something, still has claws and fangs and and camouflage and all kind. Yes, I know camouflage is defensive, but it's still part of combat. They still have the ability to protect themselves. So what I'm trying to say, is that should not be denied for me either. Okay, so even though I cannot do these 3, I've already done it in the past. All right, 3 is very limited what I did, but still I did these 3 steps. And sure, back then to a certain extent maybe I was strong, but there's limitations because I was never, in order to be able to do especially 3, you have to become an athlete. I was never a good athlete. It's just true. I was born with chronic asthma. I just did not have the DNA. I didn't have the means to become a professional athlete. I just wasn't there. So athletic wise, I had limitations already. Physically, I had limitations. All right, so how can I do these 3 steps? I can't. So then once again, if you can't do these 3 steps, I don't have the right to protect myself. Come on, that's not right. Okay, so yeah. So not everybody can do these 3 steps. And what Professor Drysdale says, and what he said that is, he said that this, if these 3 steps are really there, not so much for the individual. He didn't really say it like this, but it's not really for the individual. It's for the art to evolve, for BJJ. Because think of it as a style, not the individual. Because the individual wise, the truth is not everybody can do this. And I remember back in the late 90s, early 2000s, the spar frequently part, 90% of the students dropped out. That was just the truth, and only a small percentage competed. Okay, that's just the truth, man. So I think what Professor Drysdale was saying, and he pretty much says this, is that this method, these 3 steps, is how to make the style evolve, is how to make the style stronger. Not the individual, but the style. So the BJJ fighters, the top guys, will become amazing. The ones that make it through this program, those guys are going to be hella strong. That's what this does. And that's the truth. Okay. But what about those of us that can't do all these? Well, we're not talking about that. Well, you see, to me, I follow the Bruce Lee way of thinking. And he was like, it's not the style, it's the individual. So I agree with that. Let's focus on the individual. And the truth is, not all individuals can do this 1, 2, and 3. 1, yes, but not 2 or 3. Okay, so then what about for the rest of us? And that's where I believe Filipino martial arts got it right, which was partner drills. So to replace number 2 with partner drills. Why is this even possible? Well, when I think of myself back in the day when I was doing these 3, I was doing basically the Carlson Gracie style of BJJ. When I was doing that, okay, was I able to beat someone stronger than me, better than me? And the answer is yes, I was able to. Now, there's many times I lost, but there's also some times where I won. How was I able to do it? Well, obviously not physicality versus physicality. Obviously not. The way I did it was through strategy and technique. Strategy and skill, should I say. Okay. So then, in order to protect myself, I need something that will allow me to develop my strategy and skill. You see that logic right there? So rather than becoming strong, it's something that will allow me to develop. Develop how much? To the point where I could use it in real life. So develop my strategy and my skill. How do I do that? Through partner drills. But the partner drills need to reflect the strategy and skill that I'm actually going to use. How do I know which ones I'm going to use? Well, that's where the sparring and the competition comes into play. So it is inevitable in a sense, but maybe, to a certain extent, we can minimize that now, and we can focus more on the partner training, on the partner drills. Okay, we focus more on the partner drills, and even in the world of MMA, you hear people in full contact fighting, whether it's boxing or whether it's MMA, or even if it's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it's like, dude, don't go full contact all the time in training. You're hurting yourself. But more and more people are coming out and saying that. You're a Muay Thai fighter. Don't have gym wars. Avoid that, So even they are kind of getting into the same page there, okay? So I'm saying I'm more extreme. I'm saying partner drills to replace the sparring frequently. Okay, so I'm more on the page of let's spar sporadically, not frequently, but very little as possible, and let's do a lot of the partner training. Now more people can do it. This is doable, okay? But the current the current FMA world, when I look up on YouTube and I look up partner training, 90% of what I see does not apply to this at all. It's it's movie choreography. What I'm seeing is it's for movies. The way that you're training, what you're doing, it's for a movie. It's not for reality. It's for a fantasy. I'm sorry to say it, but it's test it out. You don't have to take my word for it, but be honest. And 90% of the people, they can't. They think they are. But they think, yeah, of course, this is for real life. They argue up and down. Argue. You're just good at arguing. All you have to do is test it out honestly. Just the other day on Sunday, I trained with my students. I trained with my student. We did the partner drill. My partner drill, not the what everyone else does. But we did my partner drill. One little mistake that I did, I know I would have been, if this was real, I would have been messed up. One little mistake, and this is me obsessed, not with looking good or not with, oh man, hey, we could finally do this drill now. It's a tricky drill to learn, but now we can do it and we can do it fast and it looks cool and it's fun. It's challenging. None of that. I don't care about any of that. I don't care how bad it looks. I just want to be able to use this to protect myself in a real life situation. It's all about real life street survival, real life self-defense. That's all I care about. And that's all we're doing. And even then, just a small mishap. Has nothing to do with having fun or all those other things that everyone else is doing. Nothing to do with that. And one small mishap, and I'm getting killed. I would have died. All right. And that's where I go, damn, am I doing something wrong? I need to tweak the drill even more. I thought I finally had it. What's going on? Constantly being challenged here because real life is that difficult. So all these guys, all you people doing these drills because your teacher said this is good and the teacher looks good and you believe in the teacher and you think this looks good and you're doing blind leading the blind. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say. It's very disappointing to me. Very disappointing. Good luck. Good luck. And it's so disheartening. And plus, people are just going to argue with me. I'm just focused on me. I'm focused on this, modifying this, because I know this works. This works for real. So I'm modifying this right here. So number 2, I am looking for the partner drills that could replace sparring frequently. That could replace number 2. It's not any partner drills. It's specific ones that's worth that hopefully if I ever need it will save my life. That's what I'm trying to replace it with. Okay, replace this sparring frequently. That's what I'm trying to do. Number 3, the competition part. Competition will grow your art. Yes, I get that. I get that. The competition I see in FMA right now, I don't like it. It's you put on like kendo full armor and then you go on town with each other. You just wail on each other with the sticks. I'm not sure what the hell that's going to develop. And then the other one is full contact with minimal safety gear like the Dog Brothers. And I'm sorry, I don't like that either. I mean, I don't. Those are two extremes, and I don't like either. And then the knife sparring that I'm seeing, where it's just the knife and it's very limited, and I don't like that either. So there's got to be something for competition that we could develop for Filipino martial arts that you could come from. I don't care what style you are, Doce Pares, you are from uh, what you call some other branch of Escrima or Kali, or you're from this Arnis branch or whatever. It doesn't matter what style you come from, a different style, and we could all come together and compete, kind of like what they did with MMA. It doesn't matter if you're a kickboxer, a wrestler, or a boxer. You all come and compete, right? We need something like that, and I'm thinking there has to be multiple competitions, not just one, multiple ones, because each one is going to develop a certain skill set, because the rules are going to confine it like crazy, like judo. If you look at judo, you can't punch, you can't kick, you can't do a lot of things, but if you're ever in a self-defense situation and the other guy's wearing a jacket or the other guy's wearing a coat, you know that's going to give you a huge advantage. Huge advantage. You might be able to just throw the guy and then run away. So judo can be extremely effective even with those limited rules. And that, I believe, is we need something like that for Filipino martial arts, for Kia, Kali, Escrima, Arnis. A bunch of things like that. They each cover a specific type of skill that is good for self-defense. And furthermore, it needs to be safe, because the whole reason why I'm making this is so that it's not about evolving BJJ, it's about evolving you. The average person can do it, not the uber athlete can evolve. I'm not interested in the uber, because I'm not. Why would I be interested in the uber athlete? I'm not here. I'm not his fan. I don't care about him. I care about me. My situation when I need to defend myself. Can I do it? Can I? Yes or no? That's what I'm interested in. You, the normal person, can you defend yourself? That's what I'm interested. So the competition venue needs to be something where we can all do it regardless. Something. So in MMA, one of the things they did was they created weight division. That's something to help, because if not, all the big guys will dominate. It's the heavyweights will rule. Or maybe it's the light heavyweights. It might be the light heavyweights will rule. But definitely we're not going to see a lightweight dominate and crush everybody. Probably not. So. What I'm trying to say with the competition part, I'm not there yet. I'm still working on number 2. Number 2, so far, I've narrowed it down to 3 partner drills that I really, really like, and I've been showing it to you guys on my YouTube channel. But, to me, it's still a work in progress. There's still a lot more to discover, and I'm still working on it. And number 3 is just something is in the back of my head, but I'm really focused more on number 2. And I do know that number 3 is necessary. I'm just not there yet, and maybe I may never get there. In my generation, I may not, but I do know that these 3 steps, this is something to model after. This is a good place to model any martial arts style after. But like I said, I don't believe that these 3 steps are the only way, but it's a good base to base off of whatever it is you're doing. And once again, that's what I'm doing. So, all right. I'm rambling on. So that's it for now. Thank you for viewing, and take care, folks.